sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to the World Cricket Show, the world's favourite cricket show. My name is Adam Bayfield, and I'll be your host tonight. And with me in the studio this week is likeable twit Tony Kerr.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get the legal team on that one, I think.
You don't like that
I
description?
thought you were getting nicer to me over the last few weeks, but no.
How's it going this week?
Yeah, not too bad. I've just played football and I'm a bit depressed.
Yeah, you're really angry. I came and met you here at the studio, and you've just been playing football.
Yeah.
And we've been here, about 45 minutes already? Because you've just been ranting about the football match you just played.
It's just like cricket, village cricket, in the truest sense of the word. At least you spend most of the time not doing anything.
Yeah.
And so does everyone else.
Chatting.
So everyone else is really bad. I'm not putting myself in that camp just yet. Doesn't really have any, much opportunity to influence the game. Whereas in football, there's no hiding place.
So you're just getting really annoyed with all your teammates, basically.
They'll probably be listening to me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this guy's an absolute douche. No, it was a mutual effort of kind of rubbishness tonight in awful conditions.
Well, it's cold, isn't it, Tone?
Isn't it?
Snow update. We don't really have any, but we almost might.
You're willing it on. You're like, oh yeah, there's snow. And it's like it's slightly drizzling outside, and there's puddles everywhere. You've come in going like, oh yeah, it's hectic conditions in the upper parishes, the outer. What do you call it? What's that thing in Star Wars? The outer galaxies or something.
The outer rim.
Yeah, the outer rim. That's essentially what you've come in and said. You're like, it's wild in the outer rim.
Seriously, mate, the upper parishes, it is actually snowing. You've been down here in the north, where the studio is, and you've been playing football down here as well. And it's much lower down.
Sea level.
So in your
in the
mind,
mountains,
in your mind, it's just raining. But up high, up in the upper parishes where I've come from, it's actually snowing. And I'm a little bit concerned about how I'm going to get home, because it was already getting quite hairy on the roads on the way here.
I'll get you home, don't worry.
Well, we're in separate cars, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'll get me home, but I can't vouch for you.
I just want it to snow tonight. I'm so desperate for a snow day.
No, I'm not at all. It's rubbish.
Absolutely desperate for a snow day. I mean, your problem is that if it's a snow day, you have to come to work because you have to report on it, being a radio journalist. Whereas for me, a snow day means I get to go and build a snowman or something.
Snow's just not... Unless it's on a mountain and there's glue vine and ski lifts, it's not much fun, is it, really? What's fun about trudging on the road in slushy, grey, mucky, dirty snow and then trudging home again after?
Great. It just sounds great, doesn't it? No, I agree with you. I mean, the worst of all worlds is for it to snow a little bit tonight, and then it's just a bit slushy and mucky on the ground, but everyone still has to go to work, but it's a bit awkward getting into work and stuff. That's rubbish. But if it actually snows like it did 2 years ago, Tony, when you had to work, but I didn't, it was probably the best day of my life. Yeah. Just gambling about, frolicking in the snow.
Boring.
It was absolutely magnificent. And that's what I want. That is what I want.
Well, you're not going to get it, hopefully. I really hope you don't get it.
The last few days, I keep waking up in the middle of the night and rushing over to the window.
It's about 7 degrees.
Nose pressed against the glass. Is it snowing? Oh, please, I hope it's snowing.
You need to go back and do some GCSE geography, mate. It's been mild. It's been balmy of late.
Anyway, what is coming up on the show today? Well, I thought that we were going to do our World Cup preview.
Got it all wrong.
I got a bit carried away and I got the dates wrong. I thought the World Cup started much sooner than it actually does. I think the problem is I'm just so excited. I'm so excited about everything. So I'm excited about the snow days and I'm excited about the World Cup. And I keep coming home from work and just going straight to bed. just get another sleep over with. Night. So I just want the World Cup to come around faster. Well, yeah, so we're not going to be doing our full preview tonight, but we will be looking ahead to the World Cup, which is all up in our grill right now, and we'll be talking about England and the Tri-Series final and all that kind of stuff. But there's also been lots of other things happening in the cricketing world. It's been a busy couple of weeks, so we're going to be touching on everything from Mohammad Amir to Stuart Broad to some very naughty ghosts. So there's a lot to look forward to. But yeah, what's going on in your life, Tane? You had a good week?
No. Yeah, it's been good. Did you watch the Super Bowl last night?
No, not interested at all.
No.
Did you?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, the halftime show's
You must be tired now, then.
Well, a little bit. Not too bad. But I mean, the halftime show's got nothing on T20 Finals Day, has it? And Liberty X, whatever he ever plays normally. Atomic Kitten. But yeah, it was good. Good all round. Greatest show on turf.
That's good.
Yeah, I think that's not my line.
You should tweet that.
That's not my line.
You must be knackered because what time did that finish? 2 a.m?
Yeah, a little bit after that.
And then you've been at work today playing football, and now it's quite late. It's like it's gone 9.
Well, that's the dedication I'm putting in for this.
I'm normally in bed, as I say. I'm normally fast asleep by about 6:30 these days, waiting for the World Cup. Yeah, it's quite late, so there might be a bit of a different atmosphere to the show tonight. Do you think a bit more like late night radio?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, Sunday was a
up all night with Adam and Tony.
I can't really do that voice. I don't know. Just get a bit weird if I do this. But Sunday was an absolute feast of sport.
It was a feast of sport.
Isn't it?
Do they talk like this on late night radio?
No.
Or is this just some weird voice?
Well, let's just chat. Start with the cricket, didn't it? That was rubbish. Then Andy Murray, and he started well, and then he was rubbish, and then
your football tonight was rubbish.
But then the Super Bowl was good. That was something to cling on to.
I'm glad you've talked about the Super Bowl there. I'm glad you sort of thought of something to talk about, because I wasn't really sure what to do in this intro. Do you ever worry that we'll run out of things to talk about, Tone? Because literally I was trying to think of what can we talk about, and the best I could come up with, the most interesting thing I could think of, was that you, yesterday when we played football, wore the wrong colour shirt. You were supposed to wear a white shirt and you turned up in a grey shirt. Greygate. It's become known as.
Well, this is the bull thing about what happened yesterday, is that grey is not okay. I'll make your argument for you.
Hang on. It's supposed to be one team's supposed to wear colours, any colour. The other team's supposed to wear white.
Yeah, and I'll make your argument for you. If I turn up playing for colours in a grey shirt, people have said, "Well, that's not a colour." And I turned up playing, in whites, playing for whites in a grey shirt, and you said, "Well, that's not a white shirt." So that's your argument, but I refute that.
Hang on, wait. My argument is what?
That grey is neither colour or white.
Okay.
But in fact, it's white. It's light. It's whites and lights. That's what it is. It's a very pale. It's like a mild grey, like
colours versus whites and lights. But then why not like a pale yellow then, or an extremely pale blue? That's light.
No, because it's monochrome. That's the rule.
This is absolutely thrilling stuff. The listeners must be loving it. World Cup Watch. This is our item, World Cup Watch, where we look ahead to the World Cup, which is terrifyingly close now. Tone, less than 2 weeks to go. As we know, it starts on Valentine's Day. And we will be doing our full preview of the World Cup, our incredibly tedious team-by-team rundown of all the teams. That'll be on next week's show. We're setting up a fantasy league as well, a World Cricket Show fantasy mini-league. Get your fantasy teams ready this week. I haven't set up the league yet. I'll do that this week.
Keep an eye on the Facebook page, the Twitter as well.
But as the World Cup approaches, there's been lots and lots of one-day cricket going on around the world, and there's been this tri-series going on, Tone. Have you heard about this in Australia? England are hurtling into the World Cup off the back of quite a mixed bag in that tri-series. They played 5 games. They beat India twice, but they lost to Australia 3 times, including a fairly meek capitulation in the final on Sunday, which was in Perth. Australia batting first. Were in quite a lot of trouble at 60 for 4, with Jimmy Anderson making life very difficult for them. They recovered quite well, with Glenn Maxwell making 95, and then they took 45 runs off the last 3 overs. James Faulkner, 50 not out off 24 deliveries, and they ended up posting 278 for 8 declared. That was a much bigger total than it looked like they would get, and a bigger total than England have chased down for a very long time, and they didn't look like they were going to get anywhere near chasing it down, as they were very quickly reduced to 46 for 4. It got worse at 98 for 7, and eventually they were all out for 166. Glenn Maxwell, after his heroics with the bat, taking 4 for 46 as well to be named man of the match. So Australia wrapped up the win and won the tri-series, and England with a little bit of thinking to do, perhaps. I mean, what's your reading on England at this point, Tane? Can you take their temperature for us? Is it encouraging that they were able to beat India reasonably comfortably twice, or are you more worried that they weren't able to beat Australia, or indeed really get anywhere close to Australia? They've now lost 15 of their last 16 internationals against the Aussies in all formats.
It's not great, is it? I mean, it's a kind of mixture of those, really. If you wanted to kind of have a headline, you'd kind of have to build your own out of what you just said.
The headline is a mixture of those.
India didn't have a great series, did they?
Well, they didn't win a match on their tour of Australia.
Yeah. From that perspective, how interesting is it that England beat them? I don't know. England, there was a bit of positivity. Bell hit some runs, didn't he, in the series, but then in the end were smashed in the final. So, I mean, this is what we can expect, I think, isn't it, from the World Cup?
A bit erratic.
In realism, it's kind of get to the quarter-final, probably some good individual performances along the way, and then get smashed in the quarter-final.
When it actually matters.
Yeah. I mean, that's if you were kind of going to form, isn't it? You can hope for better, but that's no more than that, you'd say. Yeah, in Australia are favourites, aren't they? So
I think that's the thing. They are an exceptionally good one-day team at the moment, especially in home conditions. I actually think there's clear blue water between them and the rest of the World Cup favourites, let alone England. So I don't think England should get too depressed about the fact that they weren't able to beat Australia. I mean, if they're going to win the World Cup, they'll presumably have to beat Australia at some point, but no one's expecting them to win the World Cup. Having a good World Cup doesn't entail winning it for England at this point. So they shouldn't necessarily be too alarmed at losing to Australia 3 times. And there were some very promising signs in this series. The fielding, for one, was exceptional. We saw some fantastic catches. Ian Bell with fantastic catches. And just in general, they looked much sharper in the field. And, when they were playing well, when they were a good one-day team a couple of years ago, they were really, really good in the field. And then it all kind of came apart. And this is something we talk about a lot. Is good fielding, is that symptomatic of the fact that the team is playing well? Or does good fielding make a team play well? I'm not sure that we've ever kind of worked out the answer to that. But certainly, if it's a barometer of how they're feeling, the confidence in the team, then that's a good sign. The bowling attack looked decent. It was maybe quite one-dimensional, but that one dimension is doing much better than it was. And it's great to see Jimmy Anderson back and bowling well, swinging the new ball in Australian conditions, which is quite exciting. If he has a good World Cup, then I would say England's chances improve significantly. Another senior player in form, and you've mentioned him, is Ian Bell. He's now become England's leading run scorer in ODIs, which is quite remarkable considering he's only been good at ODIs for about a week and a half. But yeah, leading run scorer now. And James Taylor put together a couple of scores from number 3. But, maybe he's sort of a microcosm of the England team in that he had a couple of great knocks against India, but he made no runs at all against Australia. Should we be a little bit concerned about that? Taylor maybe against a good bowling attack hasn't been able to cut it just yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got time, isn't he? It's still this is effectively the warm-up. Yeah, effectively the warm-up games, even though, the warm-up to the warm-up games, I suppose. I mean, it's good to see that Australia and India are going to meet again in a warm-up game. The schedulers have really got it spot on again. So I think let's not make any early judgments.
Yeah,
I think he deserves his place in the side. No need to judge him until the end of the tournament.
It's not a big enough sample size, really, is it? 3 games against Australia to say, is that just a coincidence that he hasn't scored runs against them yet? No one's going to score runs all the time. Or is it the fact that the better bowlers have been able to find him out? One batsman in that top 3 that I am a little bit worried about is Moeen Ali, because it does look as though his form has disappeared. In that Sri Lanka series, he came in all guns blazing. We thought maybe he might be England's kind of ace in the pack at the top of the order. But he made no runs at all in this series. And he does have a weakness against the short ball. And on these pitches, particularly against sides like Australia, that is going to be exploited. Johnson worked him over in that Tri-Series final. It was a fantastic ball from Johnson to get him out, but it was a short ball that Ali couldn't handle. That doesn't bode well either for the World Cup or for the Ashes next year, really, does it? What should we do with Ravi Bopara? This is the perennial question, really, isn't it?
What do you want to do?
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think if Bopara bowls 5 or 6 overs and bats at number 7, then he's a real asset to the side. But on these pitches, his bowling can get picked off, and it just looks as though Morgan didn't really trust him. I think he only bowled 3 overs in the series. And he's not good enough as a batsman to just be in the side as a batsman. I think he averaged 14 in these games. And just all throughout his career, he's not really done it as a batsman. If he's going to bowl as well, then he's a good option. But there are better batsmen. There are better batsmen in this squad. Gary Ballance is a better option. But if you bring in Ballance, then that ironically enough, it changes the balance of the side, because Balance isn't going to bat at number 6, is he? That wouldn't be the right position for him. So then you'd have to kind of reshuffle that whole batting order. So it's a tricky one, and I think they'll probably be tempted to at least give Bopara a go at the start of the World Cup.
Well, they've got enough tournament to mix things up, haven't they?
That's true. Yeah. They've got a lot of rope.
Yeah. The group stage offers a bit of flexibility. I mean, Bopara is a bit of a running joke, isn't he, in cricket, let alone on the pod. And he's always going to have your comments kind of weighing down on his shoulders, always. So I do feel a bit sorry for him in that regard. But as you said, I mean, he is hugely, can be destructive in the right circumstances. He is effective. He's a good all-round player, but the form going into the tournament isn't strong enough to suggest he should start it.
I think the problem is, for me, he's a great player at number 7, assuming that your top 6 are really firing, because then he can come in at the end and add a few extra runs, finish the job, potentially, which he's never actually done, but that's the theory. He's quite a useful number 7 batsman there. But if your top 6 are struggling to put enough runs on the board, he's not likely to come in and make 100, is he? To make an 80 or a 90 and change the game in the way that James Faulkner is, for example. You might expect Bopara to make 30 or 40, not to make 70, 80, 90 or 100, which I don't think he's ever done. Am I right in saying?
He's made one ODI 100.
Okay. Which is not really enough, is it?
That came against Ireland in Dublin.
Well, there you go.
It's the same story. I mean, as well, his strike rate's not good enough. I mean, looking back on kind of his last few innings, if he's going to come in and score 30 batting there, it's got to be a runner ball.
But the problem is, England are getting bowled out all the time. I think it's something like 11 of their last 18 one-day internationals they've been bowled out before the 50 overs are up. On that basis, maybe it'd be better to have Gary Balance adding a bit of extra stability, particularly if Bopara isn't going to be bowling. You may as well have Balance at that point. So that would be what I would do at this point. But it does mean having to rejig the batting order. I'm not quite sure how that would work out. Can anyone stop Australia, Tone? They look pretty ominous.
I mean, they've kind of got the full package, which is annoying, really, in a way, from an English fan's perspective, because they have bloody won it loads. A couple of years ago, it looked like it was going to be over for a little while. They've come good again before this World Cup, and really good as well. Arguably, there are players here that could, in a few years, be tough to say as good as the likes of Gilchrist, Hayden, etc. But probably in the conversation. Yeah, and on the next rung down, perhaps. Yeah, and who knows, maybe a bit higher. I mean, they do look very good. I mean, there are other teams, and I don't know how much daylight's in between them, but you've got to back them. You've got to back them to get out of their group at least.
Well, yeah. Okay, that's a bold statement from Tony Kerr. Tony, it's time for the return of maybe the most popular item on this show. Which cricketer has said something stupid on Twitter now? This week, we're talking about Stuart Broad. I'll read you this article from the Daily Telegraph. The Daily Telegraph. Stuart Broad faces criticism for Twitter comments appearing to tell minimum wage earners to be humble. Bowler provokes backlash after tweet about people earning the minimum wage. Did you see this story, Tane? Were you aware of this story?
I did. I don't really want to talk about it, but carry on. Yeah.
I told you before the show that you'd be talking about it, and you said, I don't want to talk about that. Stuart Broad faced criticism for comments on Twitter when he appeared to tell people earning the minimum wage to be humble. Broad, who earns close to £1 million per year as a centrally contracted cricketer and lists 6 sponsors on his website, tweeted, quote, I've heard if you earn minimum wage in England, you're in the top 10% earners in the world. #stay, #humble. It provoked a backlash, as well as accusations of hypocrisy. I think the backlash consisted of accusations of hypocrisy, but, quote, it's a pretty daft thing to say. Poverty is relative, after all, and something Oakham boy Stuart Broad has never experienced, wrote Twitter user Eddie Hogg, while Piers Morgan called him woefully elitist. Broad attempted to clarify his tweet 5 hours later. Quote, I merely wanted to emphasise my amazement at just how big the world is. No offence meant, and sorry if any taken. The hashtag was aimed at myself. So, Tone, when listeners saw this story, I know that their first instinct would have been, bloody hell, I want to condemn him, or bloody hell, I want to exonerate him. But either way, first of all, I need to know what Tony Kerr makes of it over at the World Cricket Show. So, what was your reaction to this story, Tony?
Non-story. Complete non-story. I mean, on so many levels.
Give us a few of the levels.
Well, firstly, I do find it slightly boring already. Twitter's not been around that long, but I've been pretty bored for a while of stories which just consist of telling the story of someone tweeting and what people responding to it. I don't really care, to be perfectly honest. I don't care what Piers Morgan. That's annoyed me. I didn't know he'd weighed in.
Of course he has.
He can literally do one, and hard and fast. Hopefully,
Piers Morgan can peers off. If you ask me,
that's quite good.
Thanks. I'll tweet that now.
But it's non-story, isn't it? Like it's not even it's not that is it that controversial? Is it busy being that elitist? It is an interesting. Well, I don't know why he's tweeting it. I don't really know what his followers. Are they going to him looking for kind of stats about the world demographics,
economic analysis?
Yeah, I don't think so. So he's pitching it wrong.
Yeah,
but
I completely agree that he shouldn't have tweeted it from the perspective of what was he thinking? This was obviously going to happen. I think the main problem is the hashtags, isn't it? If he just tweeted that fact and even said something like, wow, that's incredible, I don't think anyone would have picked up on it. It's the fact that he wrote hashtag stay, hashtag humble. Don't say hashtag stay, hashtag humble.
Okay, yeah, don't do that.
That's annoying. But also, the fact that he was saying stay humble, he says he was talking to himself, but if you're talking to yourself, don't post it on Twitter. But yeah, it does read, doesn't it, as though he's telling everyone else.
No,
he's telling the people on minimum wage that they should stay humble. But
I don't think so.
I agree with you
like
that I do get extremely frustrated by the kind of instant outrage that erupts on Twitter all the time. Yeah, I don't know if you remember Joey Barton being on Question Time last year, and he made some gaffe, which was a gaffe for sure, about the choice between the political parties being like choosing between three ugly women, I think, which obviously was an incredibly crass and stupid thing to say. But someone in the audience actually put their hand up and said, I can't believe you've just said that, you're going to get buried for it on Twitter. And it's like there is this kind of palpable sense of glee that people really enjoy, really get a kick out of being outraged and of trying to cut someone down and ruin their life because of something they said. And, I read that Stuart Broad tweet. I happened to be on Twitter at the time. I read it about 3 or 4 seconds after he posted it. And I could almost hear the outrage exploding.
Out of your own mouth.
Exactly. It's like I can hear it.
Just kind of semi-conscious.
Stuart Broad, the fucking toff. What the is he thinking? So, it's not to say that these people are wrong. Like,
well, they are in a bit.
No, it's in the sense that I think Broad was wrong to say what he says. Like the fact that he's talking about may well be true. I think it is true, but the stay humble thing, I don't think he should have said. But can we all just relax?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone
really
just
not.
chill out. It wasn't a clever thing to say, but you don't have to try and ruin his life over it.
Just move on. Just forget about it. Yeah, I agree. There's the whole thing about offence is now like it's a right of people. It's like I'm not allowed to offend. We're getting this is like kind of free speech territory here. But it is slightly annoying that
Je suis Stuart.
I'm not like no one's allowed to offend anyone anymore. It's like okay, if I say something like you're an idiot, you're welcome to be offended by that.
Well, I'm already tweeting about it.
But Adam Bayford is a bloody fool.
Yeah.
For hosting this podcast for the best part of 4 or 5 years.
That's a dreadful understatement as well. That's an alarming understatement. It's closer to 7.
But it's just like, I don't know. You have a right to think, like, oh, you're an idiot, but you don't have a right to shut me up.
Well, not only that, but...
Well, that's not a really great example, is it? I've not really thought about it.
I've not really thought it through. But, no, you have a right to be offended, and you have a right to express the fact that you feel offended, but just calm down a bit. And a lot of these people that are so offended, they may well be right in thinking that what he said was stupid, but just calm down. And you don't have to they're just visibly enjoying the fact that they get to kind of take aim at someone who is earning all the money and who, is in a much more privileged position. I mean, the thing is, I don't think he is wrong on the basic fact in the sense that, on the stats, if you earn the minimum wage, you are in the top 10% of the earners in the world. And given that, in 2015, we're much more materially well off than at any point in human history. If you're on the minimum wage in the UK, you're better off than about 99% of the people who have ever lived. In that sense, he's right to think that is amazing. But of course, wealth is relative and it's about spending power, isn't it? If you could be a millionaire, but if a loaf of bread costs £1 million, that's not very useful. It doesn't really matter how much money you earn. This is like an economics lesson, isn't it? I should be some kind of professor. So I think the fact is correct. He perhaps didn't understand it as fully as he might have done. He definitely shouldn't have said stay humble, but people just need to take a chill pill.
Just get on with it. I mean...
Can we all just chill out, please?
Just don't, like, just laugh stuff off. I don't know. Just get... Maybe that's offensive. I don't know. Hashtag laugh, hashtag it, hashtag off. No. I am rapidly turning into a grumpy old man, has to be said. Just watching the news at 10 has the power to just wind me up about most things, really. Almost every item is annoying at this stage of my life. Well, I just want to go back to being a kid where you're just like, wow, like things, like... Whereas now it's just like, oh, it's just depressing tragedies.
Things. Look at this thing. And there's another thing.
Yeah, it's true though. It's just like anything. It would be like, oh...
What you want, Tane, is to just go back to being 9 years old and just riding a bike around the field, isn't it? That's what you want.
Not annoyed about anything.
Around the world. This is the part of the show where we talk about things that have been happening around the world. Now, Tone, Mohammad Amir, remember him? He's coming back to cricket. His 5-year spot-fixing ban was originally due to end in September this year. But this week, the ICC made some changes to their anti-corruption code, and one of those changes means that banned players are able to come back a little bit early, and Amir could actually return as early as this month, February. He could be back playing cricket very soon, and I'm sure English counties will be queuing up to sign him for the summer. How should we feel about this, Tone? Should we sort of welcome him back into the fold? He's done his time, or should we be a bit more hesitant than that? It is quite a difficult one, isn't it? Because if you're going to ban someone for a length of time, then in theory they can just come back after that.
Could just regurgitate all the Ched Evans debates, can he?
Well, yeah, it's quite a different situation, though, isn't it?
Well, yeah, clearly the relative offences differ in severity and kind of impact, but in cricketing terms, I think people, a lot of people will find what he did pretty reprehensible. I mean, do you think we'll have all this? Do you think we'll have, so-and-so's interested in signing him? Backlash, anger, outrage, sponsors threatening to pull, and then, 11th hour kind of withdrawal of the offer, and then move on to the next county?
No, not to anything like the extent of the Ched Evans case, because they are just extremely different cases. As much as, many cricket fans think that what Amir and the others did is completely disgraceful and will forever will not be able to separate Amir from what happened there. It's just a completely different situation for lots of reasons, including the fact that football is just a much bigger sport than cricket in the UK. So the idea of sponsors pulling out and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of things.
For me, it's talking about signing for Derbyshire. Like, it's just not going to be a big deal.
Everyone's just talking about signing for, like, Rochdale or something like that. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, he wouldn't have been, apart from the fact that everyone put him in the limelight, for that 2 or 3 week period when he was trying to find a club. I don't know what he's doing now. But, apart from that, he would have just gone to some League Two club. And, he would have been a role model to some people. Amir will be a role. What are you saying to the kids at, the Sussex Academy if Amir goes and joins Sussex?
Well, sure, but it's just a very different case. I didn't really want to talk about Ched Evans tonight, so that wasn't on the agenda. It's a very different case. The Ched Evans thing is about, he literally went to prison for committing a crime outside of the sport, the crime that he committed. Like, it's all wrapped up in lots of things about misogyny in football and the fact that he's a role model for young people. There's a huge amount more to it than the fact that what Amir did was obviously wrong.
But within the sport of cricket, but you could argue that what Amir did, look at the way Lance Armstrong is absolutely, like, pilloried and kind of hated by a lot of people. Interviewed, in the last couple of weeks and said, I'd do it again. And everyone went mental. Furious. So, I mean, in that, in terms of what, I don't think get him back. Get back on a pitch.
Well, no, sure. I mean, people.
That's my opinion, but a lot of people won't think that. I don't think.
Yeah, absolutely. They will always consider him to be a disgrace. But if you're not going to ban someone for life for spot fixing, if there's going to be a time where you're saying they can come back to cricket, then you can't really ask them not to come back to cricket when that ban ends.
Right, I definitely think that. Yeah,
it's the same thing in athletics, isn't it? It is a very difficult thing because, like, Justin Gatlin is back after a doping ban. Most of the races he wins, there is always a bit of a dark feeling about it. I don't know, will that be the case if Amir does return to Pakistan and he sort of bowls them to victory? Will people still be... It's just it is a different situation, though.
It's different, but it's the same feelings and the same doubt. Yeah, like you say, in athletics, people will always doubt drug cheats. Will everyone always doubt Amir? I mean, it doesn't. You don't have to do much to spot fix, do you? As we found out.
Well, sure.
So if he chucks a no ball down at a certain, how will you ever know that he's not been manipulated?
For me,
if you were kind of a spot fixing ring, you probably wouldn't target Amir.
Exactly.
He's susceptible, but it would be the stupidest thing you could do.
It's hard to imagine him re-offending in the sense that it's cost him 5 years of doing the thing that he loves more than anything else in the world and what was shaping up to be a very lucrative career. And he's literally gone to prison and not been able to do that for 5 years. So the idea that he would do it again, that he's raring to get back into it, I do find...
You know what they say about the re-offending?
Hard to believe. But, I mean, personally, I do want to see him back, but I am a little bit cautious about it because the problem is that I really want to see him back from the point of view of, he was such an exciting player. I mean, in that summer of 2010 when he was kind of scything through the England batting lineup, Strauss, Cook, Trott, Peterson, Bell, they had no idea how to play him, really. He was already one of the 2 or 3 best fast bowlers in the world and he was only 18. And people were actually starting to talk about him as being potentially the best of all time or one of the best of all time. So the thought of him back in action is quite exhilarating, but that is troubling, therefore, because I worry that his talent clouds my thinking a little bit. Like, would we be as willing to forgive other players? Well, if it was, I don't know, Liam Plunkett or Sheldon Cottrell or someone like this, would I be quite as ready to forgive him and let him come back?
Although I guess
Srisanth is another one. Like, will everyone be like, yeah, bring Srisanth back, absolutely? Or is it because...
I suppose the counter argument with someone like, the first 2 examples there is, would anyone care quite as much? I mean, they could probably slip in with a little less fanfare. Srisanth has the kind of downside that he was really annoying for much of his playing career. So, I didn't like him. Didn't like what he did anyway.
Well, exactly, but that's the point. I mean, no one really liked Srisanth. Everyone loved Amir, and a big reason why everyone loved Amir is because of how brilliant a bowler he was at the age of 18. The concern is that we're ready to welcome him back with open arms because we love him, but actually, you should be treating these cases in the same way. I mean, it's not quite the same because Amir's case is special in other ways, notably his age, and his supporters have always asked for leniency on the basis of the fact that he was very young at the time. But I don't know if that has ever quite washed for me because, clearly his age did mark him out. It marked his case out as being very different to Butt and Asif, who are more than a decade older.
Yeah, I definitely think that because it's pretty bold of a youngster like that to try something. You wonder what's kind of nonsense he was being fed, and
the sense was always that he was kind of pressured into it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't quite buy the portrait of him as some kind of doe-eyed innocent. He was 18, he wasn't 8, and would it have made a difference if he was 19, 20, 21? Like, when do you become an adult? This is a question that I continue to grapple with, as my friends and family will be very quick to tell you. But, taking money to bowl a no ball is unacceptable, and I do think that cricketers understand that even at 18. So, no doubt he was pressured into it. I didn't quite buy the idea that he had no idea that what he was doing was wrong, and he could have reported it.
But then, I guess the other... we don't want to get into the whole argument again, but how critical is spot fixing? I mean, if someone said, look, you can do this, and it's very little bearing on the consequence of the match. It does seem like quite a harmless crime, really. You could say, well, it throws into doubt
fun.
It throws into doubt the kind of integrity of everything else, what we're watching. But how much impact does it have?
I agree.
Probably nothing.
To a certain extent, I agree that it isn't the most heinous crime in human history. and perhaps there is a tendency to overreact. But like you say, it does. The integrity of the sport is at stake, and once you start not being able to believe everything, then can you believe anything? And we've had this conversation a lot.
Well, I think the other question with him, about in terms of are you excited about him coming back and all this? Realistically, how good's he going to be now? Probably not.
This is a good question.
I used to quite like the Libertines. The other week, when I was a kid, I guess. I
wouldn't have said you quite liked the Libertines.
Okay, I really
absolutely obsessed with the Libertines.
Yeah, well, I was young and informed. They're quite good. They were very good at the time. Similarly to me, there was a lot of potential. But now, Pete Doherty, apparently they're going to release a new album. Am I excited about it? Not at all. It'll probably be embarrassing to everyone involved. I mean, it might not be, but it probably, that's the sense I'm going in with.
Yeah, or it's like Arrested Development coming back. Arrested Development is my favourite TV show of all time. I heard they were coming back for a new season. I was really excited, and then about 2 days later, I was like, "Oh no, hold on! It's not going to be very good," and it really wasn't very good. And yeah, no, sure. I mean, that is a problem, and you can't take someone out of the game for 4.5, 5 years and expect their development not to have been derailed. I mean, he has been training, but not at the kind of level that he would have been training at, and obviously not been playing. But that being said, he is still only 22. If he made his debut for Pakistan today, he would be considered a real youngster. He's younger than Joe Root. He's younger than Ben Stokes. He's only slightly older than Dale Steyn was when he made his debut. So he's got a lot of time to make up ground. And while I don't think he will become as good as he would have been had he not had this ban, there's nothing to say he won't become a top-class international bowler, because even if he doesn't come back into the team for 3 or 4 years, he'll still be fairly young. I mean, he'll probably have to become the best bowler of all time if he's going to be remembered for anything other than spot fixing.
Well, I suppose you could argue, though, that skipping years 18 to 22 or 19 to 22 or whatever it was, he's not going to be burnt out now in the way some other young bowlers who came through young and
you were burnt out at 22 as well, weren't you?
Ruined their bodies
in other ways,
and never really recovered. For him, he's obviously there's a natural talent there. He's probably been he's probably been keeping fit. So in a way, perfect kind of springboard now to
prison gym
to go. He knows he can do it. He knows he can. He won't be worried about. He won't have the nerves. Well, I mean, there will be nerves, I'm sure, when he comes back. But maybe it's ideal.
No, it's going to be really interesting to see. I think I'm interested. I'm interesting. A lot of people say that about me. Much like the director of Wolf Hall, this episode of the World Cricket Show has left everyone in the dark, despite our best efforts. Do you get it? Do you know what I'm talking about, Tony?
Did you like it?
What, Wolf Hall?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I've got it recorded, but I've been watching The Tudors.
Oh, yeah.
The TV show The Tudors with Jonathan Rhys Meyers. And I'm in the middle of that at the moment. I'm literally watching the episodes about the fall of Anne Boleyn and everything. And I just thought it'd be a bit weird to then go and watch Wolf Hall with the same characters played by different people. So I'm kind of saving it.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
Are you enjoying it?
Keep it clear. Yeah, it's all right. It's good. Yeah.
I enjoy it in The Tudors. Have you seen The Tudors?
No, I haven't watched it.
Okay. Because Jonathan Rhys Meyers, I had no idea that he's Irish, because he does a very good, Master Cromwell, bring me the parchment. I'm pretty sure that's a direct line from the script. But then I saw an interview with him and he was like, "You had a great time making The Tudors. Had a great time." But it's Damian Lewis, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is he good?
Yeah, right. What's the guy that everyone's like, who's a classic stage actor?
Mark Rylance.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen him in it.
No, he's a classic stage actor.
I don't go to the theatre.
Not enough.
No.
Not enough.
I only watched one episode of it, though.
Was it good?
It's right. Looking to see how it develops.
We've had economic theory and also TV criticism on this week's show.
Did you watch the start of Fortitude?
I've got it recorded.
You've got it not recorded?
Yeah.
That was good.
Was it good?
That, yeah.
With Sophia Grabul.
And it was, this is like the TV, it's like the TV review now.
TV corner.
I watched the first series of Broadchurch to see what all the fuss was about. Have you watched Broadchurch?
No.
Have you got it recorded?
Is it any good?
It's all right. No, it was all right at the end, yeah. I mean, the kind of first 3 or 4 episodes were as village as its setting.
Really?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Actually, I remember you saying you were watching it, and I said, "Is it any good?" And you said, "It stinks of ITV."
Yeah.
Such a snob, Tone. Such
Not
a
a
TV
snob.
snob.
It's just I couldn't download it in HD either, so basically that was already 2 marks knocked off. Rubbish.
You'll watch anything as long as it's in HD.
Yes,
You
yeah,
watched
true.
that movie,
Still.
Did You Hear About the Morgans?
Yeah.
Because it was in HD.
That was all right, and I did.
It's all right.
I could get past the kind of, it was balanced out. The quality of the production was offset by the quality of the HD.
I just watched that. I watched an interview with Jonathan Rhys Meyers in HD. That was why I watched it.
Yeah, I'm still excited about
This
HD.
interview's in HD, he said.
Still excited about HD, even now.
Have you had fun tonight, Tony?
Yeah, it's been all right. I'm quite looking forward to going home, though.
I think we did a pretty decent job of holding it together, because what we haven't mentioned and probably should have done is that we're not in our usual studio. We had to move studio because we were in there earlier and Tony saw a ghost and he insisted that we move.
Not as far away from the truth as you might think.
Really? Did you see a ghost?
There's spooky goings on here, though.
Yeah, because you were here for about 15 minutes before I arrived.
Yeah, I didn't notice anything then, but I was here last week on my own, and there was a thing happening.
What kind of
It
happened?
was like he just jumped off the desk,
What do you mean?
fell on the floor. But then when I looked, couldn't see anything, couldn't see what had fallen. Creepy. Yeah, you do. I've been here with someone in the morning, and we've heard a kind of knock at the window.
It's the postman. Hello?
Yeah.
You're freaking out. What was that?
But yeah, that was
Well, because I go into my work, go into the library sometimes.
After hours?
After hours, yeah, just out.
just to kind of rearrange the book.
Exactly. No, I run various activities
I don't want to know.
like book clubs and things. But I have to go in, unlock everything, and turn on all the lights and get everything set up. And it is pretty creepy in there because it's a pretty old building.
Yeah.
And I have to go up to the very top floor, and the lights are at the back of the room, so I have to walk all the way through the dark
Yeah,
room.
that's not good.
Turn the lights on, and often when it's really windy outside as well, and like rain on the windows, everything rattling around, and I'm just turning on reaching for the light switch, going, "Please don't be a little girl standing there.
Yeah.
Please don't be a little girl standing there." And so far it's been okay, but people say it is haunted, and say they have seen ghosts there.
Terrifying.
Do you remember
Got my age now, mate.
do you remember when we were kids? That on PGL, Parents Get Lost. It's like activity camp thing that you get sent on when you're a kid. I just remember everyone was terrified of ghosts.
I didn't go on
those
that.
pages. Did you not go? Oh,
No.
okay. Everyone, I think it was McRae. It was London correspondent Gordon McRae. Was absolutely petrified of ghosts.
Stands to reason.
Where he
Big
was,
jumpy lad.
it was
that
kind of like everyone else was kind of daring themselves to say that Bloody Mary thing into the mirror, and McRae was like, "No, don't, don't say it." Tony's now peering around.
Yeah. Right, let's get out of here, come on, mate, let's get out of
So
here.
I should say we're bringing this up because the Pakistan player Haris Sohail was apparently spooked by a ghost in his hotel in New Zealand and insisted on changing room.
Did he just go and sleep on the coach's floor or something?
Yeah, I think so. This happened on the 2005 Ashes tour, the Australia tour of England. Shane Watson was spooked by a ghost in Durham, and he had to go and sleep on Brett Lee's floor. So it's got a rich history that's in cricket. Well, anyway, feel sorry for the guy. Ghosts are scary, aren't they?
Very. Right, well, let's get on. Come on, let's go with this.
Let's get Tony's now really jumpy. We'll be back next week with a World Cup preview. But between now and then, if you like the World Cricket Show, then check us out on the internet. Tony is genuinely very nervous now. He's looking around. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Cricket Show. Follow us on Twitter. The show account is @Cricket Show. You can follow Tony @Tony Cover. And follow me @Adam Bayford12. Send us an email, worldcricketshow@gmail.com. Leave us a review on iTunes if you've got a spare couple of minutes. We really appreciate all of those. And if you're doing your shopping, Valentine's Day is coming up. If you're buying something for your other half, if you're going to do it on Amazon, then go first of all to our website, which is cricketshow.net, and click the Amazon button there. And then anything that you buy, we get a bit of a kickback, so we do really appreciate all of those. And if you want to buy a Guernsey beach guide, well, hey, you can. Me and Tony wrote one. The Guernsey beach guide. We appreciate not everyone is that bothered about Guernsey that's not in Guernsey or coming to Guernsey. But if you just want to support the show, me and Tony wrote a book, The Guernsey Beach Guide, and it's available to buy on our website, which is guernseybeachguide.com. eventful.com. We were quite upset to discover this week, Ollie, our designer, spotted on the Guernsey eBay page. It's like eBay. People post things on Facebook, don't they? Little second-hand things to sell. And someone had taken a picture of a pile of books.
Yes, spread of
said,
books.
£1 each. I just want them gone. And one of them was the Guernsey Beach Guide.
Which has only been out for about 6 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a quick turnaround, you know.
She's so angry with it already.
Just want them gone.
Just wants it gone. So we're going to put that on the cover of the second edition. Anyway, that's it. Stay in school, everybody. Hope you have a good week, and we'll see you next week for our World Cup preview.
Down to business next week.
We are going to hopefully get out of here without the ghosts murdering us, and we're hopefully going to get home through the snow. Tony's genuinely freaking out.
It's like Luigi's Mansion, isn't it? It's like, get the Hoover out.
Yeah, I did bring my Hoover, so that's a positive at least.
Stop making noises.
Yeah, I wish listeners could see Tony's face. He's absolutely terrified.
Right, come on, get on with it.
See you next week, everybody.
I can smell your fear. Ba-da-da-ba-ba, ba-da-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-da-ba-ba, ba-da-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-da-ba-ba, ba-da-da-ba-ba. Ba-da-da-ba-ba, ba-da-da-ba-ba.
Anyway, there was some consternation amongst you lot about it, but I just played on, did my thing, kept my head down, didn't let what was happening off all the nonsense distract me from my game.
I mean, I didn't mind. You were on my team, so it was fine.
Yeah.
The point is that people kept passing to you. The colour team kept passing to you.
Well, I don't think so. Because grey, like a light grey, is very different to red, blue, green, orange.
It's just naming colours.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. People are idiots. That's what's wrong with them. The people, or the people in power, but the kind of the people doing the things get closer in age to you. It becomes slightly more annoying. So I'm quite respectful of of older generations. A lot of people aren't, but
These days.
Wait. But I don't know what I'm going on about it at all. I do not. What I'm trying to say is, though, that it's when people are the same age as you and it's annoying. It becomes annoying. It becomes more annoying.
This is why we should definitely keep, it's a good idea that this show is focused on cricket, because if we were just...
10 past 10.
we would just let off the leash, I don't know what would happen.
Cut a lot of that.